Mohamed Salah or Bukayo Saka? I can only have one. Let's have a look at my wildcard team. Yes, that's right, I've hit the button and I've made 5 changes from my first draft that I presented on Sunday. In today's show, we're going to see my team with Saka and my team with Salah and see the compromise. But let's have a look without further ado at how I'm setting up. When we talk about goalkeepers, I don't think we need to waste a huge amount of time on it. Don't overthink it. Pay the extra and get the league's best keeper playing for the league's best defence. 5.6 million, Raya is a lock in this team. He really is. And look, when I say lock, I mean I'm committing to that player right here, right now. Okay? So let's lock him in. Raya, worth more than those 4.5s for me. I had Henderson and I've seen a lot of the other 4.5s just getting those low points. And each time I think, spend the extra million, get Raya. So alongside him, Fabianski, we can probably lock him in because there's no other 4 million option that's a starter and Fabianski won't be starting either. So look, they're both locked in this team. Let's crack on though with the defence because Trent is a lock for me. I see Trent as a must-have. When he gets the attacking returns and clean sheets, he gets bonus too. He's worth more than any other defender in the game. He's a fantastic option. If you don't have him on wildcard, I genuinely reconsider. Get Trent in your team. And under slot, Liverpool are going to keep more clean sheets. We just know that. If you're enjoying the show so far, do hit that like button and please take that 1 second, that mini second to subscribe to the channel as well. Also drop a comment below. I'll reply to as many as I can. So look, alongside Trent, Gabriel, it's pretty obvious. The goal threat from Gabriel, but also Arsenal are the best defence in the league. And when we look at data from the Scout members area from last season, we see this chart. Arsenal, best for goals conceded, best for expected goals conceded, best for clean sheets. It's no surprises. They are head and shoulders above everyone else. And this season, the theme's continued. Get an Arsenal defender or 2 in your wildcard team. And in Raya and Gabriel, I feel really well set there. And then we have Rico Lewis. Now, we saw that chart. Man City are also a very good defence. And Rico Lewis is a cheap route to it. With no Rodri, I expect Lewis's minutes to be increased even further. He's had a great start to the season. And yes, he's a rotation risk. But as long as you've got a good defender 4 and 5, or 5, 4 or 5, then you should be absolutely fine on Rico Lewis. And we're also going to get some early team news on Man City. I tweeted this the other day. Like, when we look at the next few game weeks, Game Week 6, City playing the early kickoff, we'll probably hear if Rico Lewis is starting. Same in Game Week 7. Game Week 8, they play on a Sunday, so we won't hear much. Game Week 9, maybe we'll hear something. 10, we will. And then in 11 and 12, we might hear as well. They play on the Saturday at 5:30. We're going to get some early team leaks. Therefore, punting on a Rico Lewis actually feels a little bit safer than normal. Then when we talk about Defender 4 and 5, before I show you who I've gone with, let me show you a rotating fixtures chart, right? This is rotating between Brentford defence, Forest defence, and actually Ipswich defence. They've got some good fixtures and loads of cheap options. If you're shopping for cheap defenders, look at these 3 teams. Now, I've highlighted in yellow just Brentford and Forest because they're the 2 teams that I'm going to go with for my Defender 4 and 5. So I think we look at it and go, yeah, they're probably both going to be on the bench, but if one of them has to play, I'm fairly happy here. So who am I going for? Before I show you, I forgot to lock Gabriel and Rico Lewis in. So look, let's put a padlock by all the names mentioned so far on screen, all 5 of them, but then show you who I'm going with for Defender 4 and 5. So let me present you the Brentford pass map before we hit you with player 4. We can see here, this is actually a back 5 against Spurs. Lewis Potter's just super high at left wing back. Nathan Collins left centre back. Vandenberg right centre back and Pinnock centre back. Now when they play a back 4, and at times they will, there's a slight concern that one of those 3 centre backs drops out. And it could be Vandenberg. He's the newest addition, but they have spent big money on him. The thing I like about Vandenberg is he's 4 million. Pinnock and Collins are 4.5. So I'm going to risk it. I'm going to risk that they often play a 5. And even when they don't, there's a chance Vandenberg starts. For the 0.5 saving, knowing he's going to spend the vast majority of time on my bench anyway, let's put Vandenberg in at 4 million. He's got very good fixtures, including West Ham and Wolves up next. Defender 5, though, we've shown you the rotating pairs. Who rotates well with Brentford? Forest. I like Aina as an option. He's a fullback for Nuno Espirito Santo, so he's allowed to get forward. We know how Nuno sets his teams up. And he's going to get some clean sheets. Because again, Forest, I think, are a good defence. Not a great defence, but they're a good defence. So Aina for me at the moment. We're not, however, going to lock either of those players in just yet. And I'll reveal my team on Friday, my locked team. But so far, Vandenberg and Einar, they're there, but they're not 100% locked in. I could say create money in there, go safer on Pinnock. I could, instead of Einar, go to Murillo. Or I could shop for a Colwill or a United defender. Who knows? At the moment, they're in, but then they're 90% in. Before we move on to our midfielders, though, let me just tell you about OneFootball. Many of you would have heard me speaking about OneFootball. One, because I love it, and two, because I'm fortunate enough that they sponsor this YouTube show. It's honestly the first app I go on in the morning and probably the last app I go on at night. It's part of my bedtime routine and my wake-up routine. It's football news, right? We all love it. Every single one of you watching is a football fan, and you consume a lot of football news on your mobile. Now, OneFootball for me is the best football mobile app on the market. It's free. It's pretty much the market leader too. Whether you want Premier League news or any of your European leagues, it's got it all. Whether you want tables or data or fixtures or just video clips, it's absolutely perfect for all that jazz. So there's a link in the description. Download it for free because it helps me out, following the link below. Thank you, guys. Let's move on to those midfielders, shall we? So I said I'm going to present a Saka and a Salah draft. Let's continue, though, with the Saka draft, because we look at the Arsenal fixtures and we go, yeah, those next three are so good. And then it turns a little bit, but Saka's been returning in every game week. So for the time being, he's in, but not locked. So Saka is there, and alongside him, we're actually not spending a huge amount of money in midfield. The defence is expensive, the front line's expensive. So we've got Saka there, and then next to him we've got Mbeumo. I don't think we need to talk a huge amount about Mbeumo, but let's just reintroduce that Brentford pass map, shall we, from the Spurs game. And again, Mbeumo turned up. Now, what we see with Mbeumo is he's the main goal threat. With no Visser and no Tony anymore, he's often the most advanced man on the pitch. He has penalty appeal, and he's not that wide, especially when they play a back five. And Mbeumo's quite central. And we saw his goal versus Spurs. He's the main man. He's such an easy, obvious pick for those on WildCard. So Mbeumo is in. And then I've gone for a little bit of a punt. Yeah, I've gone for it's quite a big punt here, actually. And that is on a player I really like in Savio of Man City. And I know he's subject to early subs. And I tweeted this. He's an overall minutes risk, of course he is. But I think if you were to rank Pep's wide men, you rank Savio at 1, Doku at 2, Grealish at 3, based on current form in terms of X minutes and who he's selecting. And it was really telling for me that when he made substitutions against Arsenal, he hooked Doku for Grealish and kept Savio and moved Savio onto the left and Bernardo Silva onto the right. Savio is the number one winger at the moment. He's going to get a ton of minutes. And in La Liga last season, his returns were so good. 9 goals, 10 assists in 19 returns over 37 games. He's never injured. He's 20 years old. He's played for Brazil. He plays like Mahrez. If he can produce a bit of Mahrez's output for me with good fixtures, I feel like owning Haaland isn't enough. Man City score more goals than anyone. They take more shots than anyone. When Haaland scores, we celebrate, but everyone's got him, so does it really matter? Complement him with a Savinho, and if he is involved, you're going to get big returns. So for this price point, I think it's worth the risk. Alongside him, we've got Rodgers, who finally got his haul in game week 5. What's interesting about Rodgers is he was playing for an Aston Villa team who were getting absolutely battered by Wolves until like the 70th minute. And we can see from the XG plot, and this is from between the posts, at 75 minutes, it was Wolves absolutely dominating. It was 1-0. Villa had no XG in the entire game. But that last half an hour, they went absolutely bonkers, Villa, and Rodgers got his 2 assists. He's feeding John Duran. He's feeding Ollie Watkins. He has played every minute of every Villa League game this season. Rodgers is just a must-have. So we're gonna lock Rodgers in, and we're also gonna lock Mbeumo in, by the way. So padlocks on both their names. Both Savio and Saka not yet. And then we've got Semenyo. I really like Bournemouth for the next 2. The next 2, like, you're playing 2 newly promoted teams. And when I look at Bournemouth and I look at the numbers, I go, you've had the 3rd most shots in the league so far this season. Like, surely that the goals are going to start coming in. Like, how are you on the 3rd most shots? Like, Man City have had 99, Spurs at 86, Bournemouth 85. That's more than Liverpool and Brighton on 81. So Bournemouth have had loads and loads of attempts. Now with those attempts, we're going to see goals. I'm absolutely convinced of it. So in my team is Semenyo, who's the main goal threat at the moment for Bournemouth. And again, if you like your pass maps, we can see, similar to Mbeumo, highest man on the pitch, not overly wide, and a huge goal threat. Now this is a pass map for their last game against Liverpool. When they've got the ball against Leicester and Southampton, they're going to be higher up the pitch. Semenyo is going to be even more central and even higher. I really like Bournemouth. I think they're a well-functioning attack. And just for those next two fixtures, I guess I'm willing to punt there. I'm guessing I'm willing to punt there. And look, we've got maybe in the front line another good option at Bournemouth. Guys, do hit that like button for me. And if you're enjoying the show so far, please do consider hitting that subscribe button as well. That means a lot. Genuinely, your subscribes this early in the season really matter. It really helps the YouTube algorithm as well. So I mentioned the Bournemouth shot numbers, and I tweeted like third for total attempts. Look at the fixtures. Semenyo's obvious, but what about this guy? Evan Ilson. He's 5.9 million. Could you go for a Bournemouth double up? I think so. Like, yes, it's probably a transfer out waiting to happen. But if he gets goals in the next two, you just hold him and you can bench him for the tough fixtures. This is a guy that's been capped for Brazil. This is a guy that's got huge pedigree from his time at Porto. Really good goal scoring record. I haven't watched a huge amount of Evan Ilson over the years. But I back the Bournemouth scouting department that they've gone for a very similar profile striker to Solanke. We've seen Solanke's output. I think Evan Ilson can come fairly close to it. So I'm going to go, I think, a punt on Evan Ilson. We're not locking either of those Bournemouth players in just yet, though. But we are going to lock in, of course, Erling Haaland up next. I don't think we need to discuss him. He's a lock. He's an easy pick. And then alongside him, we're not going to lock him in either. I'm sticking with Ollie Watkins. I've had him since Gameweek 3. He's getting good returns. He plays for a well-functioning attack. He has a lot of creativity behind him. Yes, John Duran exists, but we're seeing Duran coming on late in games alongside Watkins. Watkins is the main man at that football club. He outscored Haaland last year in FPL at 9 million. I'm surprised he's not in more wildcard drafts. He's a really good FPL asset. So look, Ollie Watkins is in. We still need to, however, talk captaincy. And I need to show you a Salah draft. And I want to bring your attention to 5 players that aren't in this team that I also really like, away from those that I'm backing for the Salah draft. So look, let's look at this team. Now let's look at it with Mo Salah. So we'll take Saka out for Salah. Now you need money. Now if you need money, Ollie Watkins has to go. And Calvert-Lewin is a genuine option for me. I would love to go Calvert-Lewin instead of Evan Ilson, by the way, in the Saka version of that team, but I'm 0.1 short. And there's only 0.1 between the players. So Calvert-Lewin and Salah versus Saka and Watkins is a real discussion point. Let me know in the comments what combination you prefer. But the Salah team's good. And look, the Salah team, Salah's got good fixtures. Are we all making the silly decision of going no Liverpool attack? Now you go Luis Diaz, of course you could, but Salah still feels like the better option. I can't see myself going there, but I just wanted to present it. If you're looking for a Salah version, this draft is still very good. But let's go back to the team that I'm actually on, and we can see the locked players, right? The defence, we've got Raya Fabianski, Trent, Gabriel Lewis all locked. We've got Mbeumo locked. We've got Rodgers locked. We've got Haaland locked. So the only positions we're looking at is the budget forward and midfielders. And then maybe that Watkins Saka decision. But I feel fairly locked. I won't be surprised if genuinely the 15 on screen is the 15 I end up going with on Friday. And I'll present you on Friday a locked wildcard team. But there are a few other players on my mind. Let me give you 5 players that I really like that we haven't discussed. Well, the first one we actually have discussed in Calvert-Lewin. So let's put him on there. But I also like McNeil, also from Everton. 5.4, proper cheap. Eze isn't in this team, and I love Eze as a long-term hold. Like, the points are going to start coming big for Eze. I'm sure of it. I like Garnacho as a punt. Like, why has no one got Garnacho? Like, every time he's on the pitch, he produces what looks like goals and assists. Just minutes is the big risk there. Ahmad, Garnacho, Rashford, there'll always be 2 of them starting, and we just don't know which combination he's going to go for. I don't think Ten Hag knows his favourite 2 yet. And then number 5, I think João Pedro as well, right? Like, arguably the best budget forward in the game. Calvert-Lewin, Chris Wood, Evan Nilsson worth consideration. But João Pedro may be the safest of the bunch. Guys, I hope you're hitting those like and subscribe buttons, and I really appreciate you doing so. Genuinely, your support means a lot. As I mentioned, a lot of locked players on this team. I will confirm my team with you on Friday because there's no deadline stream. So I'm going to lock in on Friday my wildcard draft, and I'm looking forward to you hopefully coming back for another video in 48 hours time. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.